All right, in this video, I'm going to give you the Shopify SEO beginner's guide. I'm going to go over all the basics that you need to do to optimize your Shopify store in order to actually get it to rank. And I'm also going to go through it with you live on a store I'm actually setting up so you can see how to do each of these things. So let's get right into it. First and foremost, you need to start with keyword research. Keyword research is the foundation of basically any SEO campaign. You need to figure out what keywords you're actually trying to rank for so that you can actually optimize your website accordingly and then start ranking for those keywords. So there are two ways that you can do this. One is using a free tool in the Google Ads account, and the second is using a paid tool called SEMrush. Now, I'm going to show you how to do both of these, but I highly recommend using SEMrush, and I'm going to show you why in a minute. So firstly, we'll go with the Google Ads Keyword Planner. Now, you either need to go to this link or go into your Google Ads account, and you can make an account for free and you don't have to run any ads in order to access this tool. So you can do that if you want. And what you do is you go on the left, you go to Tools, Planning, and Keyword Planner. Then you want to hit Discover New Keywords. And what this tool is going to do is it's going to give you the search volume for the keyword you typed in and also related keywords that relate to the main keyword and how many people are searching them. So you at least get an idea of how many people are looking for this thing every month. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the live example of my website. I'm going to type in United States because that's the target market. And then I'm going to type in two keywords. So the main keyword is coilovers, which is a type of suspension for performance cars. And then the second is Megane Racing coilovers because that is a brand that I'm going to set up. So let's see how many people are searching this. So if we take a look here, you can see that across the US, coilovers gets anywhere from 10,000 to 100,000 searches a month. And the keyword Megane Racing coilovers gets between 1 and 10,000. Now, if we scroll down the list, it gives us a bunch of related keywords. Now, unfortunately, it's giving us a lot of brand names here, which is okay, but it's not helpful if we're only selling that one brand. It's also giving us some other cars. And if we extend this list, we can now get a whole lot more. So for instance, you can see 350Z, that's a car model. You got E46, that's another car model, E36, so on. So now we can see how many people are searching for each of these keywords and determine whether it's actually worth trying to optimize our website for these. So with this kind of search volume, it certainly is. If you start seeing things like, I'm just going to filter by this. If you start seeing things like 0 to 10, like this, for instance, then it's really not worth going after. You're basically going to get no clicks, so it's not worth your time. Now, unfortunately, this tool only gives us the search volume and nothing else. Now, the second option you have is to use a tool like SEMrush. Now, I'm going to put my affiliate link for SEMrush in the description below. I highly recommend you use it, especially if you're going to be doing SEO, because it's going to give you a lot more information that you basically can't do without if you're going to do SEO. So what you can do is if you click that link below, you'll get a 7-day free trial. So in theory, you can do everything I show you in this video in that 7-day free trial. And then if you don't want to keep using it, you can cancel before the 7 days are up and you won't have to pay anything. So we'll go into SEMrush and I'll show you the exact same thing. So let's go to SEMrush. This is it. And I'm going to type in coilovers, which is the keyword that we typed into Google Ads Keyword Planner as well. And now what we can see here is a bunch more information. So basically this is giving us the total search volume and it's more exact than it is in the Google Ads Keyword Planner. It also tells us how much we're getting from other countries as well, which is not as relevant for us, but it can be good to know if you're doing international. It gives us how difficult it's going to be to rank for this keyword, which is a score that is based on SEMrush's own metrics. So just keep that in mind. It's not always 100% accurate, but it will give you a good idea. It also tells you the intent of the keyword, so the search intent, which is really good. And if we go down, you can see here we've got various different options for related keywords such as questions and things like that. And I'm going to go back to this later on in this video to show you how to use these keywords. And if we go down further, we can also see the actual search results page on Google, which pages show up on page 1 when we search this keyword. So this is really good information that you need. Now, in theory, you could see this as well by going to Google, but it's a much more roundabout way of doing it. And you're also not going to get the important information such as how many backlinks do these pages have and all these other factors that you can see here, which are useful for knowing if you're going to be doing SEO. So now that we've established this, and this is for the main keyword, you want to go through and figure out all the keywords you want to rank for. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click view all here. And in my case, it would obviously be coilovers as the main keyword. And then it would be Megane Racing coilovers, which is the brand. Now I can actually filter this if I wanted to, and I could put only having that keyword in here. I'll just put the word Megane and go apply. And now it should show me all the McGowan Racing related keywords. You can see here now, this list will be the list of keywords I'm going to go after for this brand at least. And you can see here how this is a lot more information than what it was on the Google Ads Keyword Planner, which is why I highly recommend using this tool. But basically, this would be my list of keywords I'd want to start off with because it's highly relevant to what I'm doing. It's got the exact brand, and then it's got a few different variations. And then what we have is types of cars that they're for. So that would be the individual product pages, and we'll go into that later on in this video. So now that we've established what keywords I'm trying to rank for, we can now go to point 2, which is the meta titles and descriptions of the Shopify store itself. So the meta titles and descriptions are a core component of SEO, whether it's for Shopify or otherwise. And basically what you want to do is ensure that the main keywords that you want the specific page to rank for are actually in that meta title. Each meta title needs to be unique to each page, and meta descriptions are not actually a ranking factor, so you need to be aware of that. So what you want to do is use them to get people to click on your website. No matter what you put in there, it's not going to affect the ranking. However, what does happen is if you include the keyword that the person searched in the meta description, it actually shows up as bold, which can get their attention. So I'll show you what I mean by that. If we go to Google and we type in McGowan Racing coilovers, you can see here how it's got bold, McGowan Racing, and coilovers, because those are the keywords I typed in. You can see that here as well. So basically that helps to get more attention on these listings. So you want to use that to your advantage. Now, how do you actually input this? So if we go to our Shopify store, there are a couple of ways to do this. So it depends whether you want to put it on the home page or on a collections page or on a product page. But basically what you want to do for the home page, go to online store, and then you go preferences. And in here is where you actually set up the meta title and description for the homepage of the website. So in this case, see here, you've got the homepage title. This is the meta title. So if I typed in Nefarious Racing, and in here, you could type in the meta description. Now for the homepage, you typically want to rank for whatever the main keyword is. Now I don't want the homepage to rank for coilovers because that's going to be a particular collection. And eventually this shop will expand. So it'll probably be more along the lines of performance car parts later down the line. I'm not too focused on the homepage right now, but you would be, especially if this is a niche shop. For instance, if you're selling a very specific item like only coilovers or only tires or something like that, then you would want the homepage to rank for that main keyword, the highest level category. So in here, you can basically write whatever you want, but you want to try and get their attention. So you could put something like, and actually one quick tip for you is if you capitalize it, it tends to stand out as well. So I'm just going to capitalize all of these letters. Now, one other trick you want to have is some kind of call to action in these meta descriptions, because that's actually going to incentivize people to click it. So that does actually help. So you want to have that in there. Always remember to hit save. Now that's for the home page. Now what you need to do is also do the same thing on the collections pages and the product pages. So for the collection pages, you want to go to products and hit collections. And now you can see I've got coilovers as a main collection. This would be the collection I want to rank for the coilover keyword. I'm going to do a scroll down and you can see here search engine listing. This is where you edit the meta title and a description for these. So for this one, for example, you would want to include the keyword coilovers and you would want to include it in the description as well. Now, what I recommend doing here is seeing what is actually on Google on page 1 and deciding what you should write in your page title and description based on that. So you want to make it stand out, but you also want to include the keywords that actually get to page 1. So if we go back to Google and type in coilovers, this is going to give us an idea of what we need to type in to actually get there. So you can see this is a specific brand, obviously. It includes street and racing suspension. So we'll want to make a note of that if we keep seeing that over and over again. We've got brands listed here. Now, I wouldn't recommend doing this if you have specific subcategories for brands because it can cause a bit of keyword cannibalization. So I wouldn't do that personally. These guys have 2 brands. Again, I wouldn't recommend that. Performance aftermarket coilover kits. I like this one. This is probably something I would go after. Coilover kits again, online as well. Coilover and suspension kits. So you can see kind of a recurring pattern here. Coilover kits, suspension kits. So that's what we want to do. So what you could do is do something along the lines of coilover kits. And now you can see that we've got the keyword coilover and coilovers, both of the variations. We've got suspension, we've got kits, and we've got online and buy in there as well. So this is signaling everything that you want to try and rank for all the different keyword variations. Now, another way you would want to do this is actually going into SEMrush and typing the keyword in and seeing what the variations are. So I'm going to remove McGowan for this one. I'm just going to see what are the most searched variations of this keyword, and you can include that there as well. So for instance, coilover shocks is surprisingly quite high. So you might want to include that in this case. Let's see what else we've got. Mostly brands or car models, which we're not going to do because we want to include that in the individual collections. We've got coilover suspension, so we definitely want to have that in there. Adjustable coilovers, you can include that. Actually, I will include that. So I'm going to go adjustable coilover suspension kits. Now you want to make note that you don't want this to go over 60 characters, because typically after 60 characters is where it gets cut off on the Google search results, because this headline is actually the headline that shows up here, this one here. And so if you make it long, it's actually going to get cut off, and then it's just not going to do you any favors. So keep that in mind. Now with the description here, you can say something along the lines of check out our, something like that, right? So now we've included all the different keyword variations, so it's more likely to show up bold, can get their attention. You can put some kind of deal in here or some kind of other reason for them to click, like, you know, save 15% off or whatever the case may be. You would want to write that in here to try and get their attention, because that's what's going to show up here. This is the meta description. It's going to show up on Google, so it's going to help incentivize people to click on your result. So now once you've done that, you want to hit save. And now for the individual products themselves, what you want to do is you want to go into inventory and then select the product. So let's say, for instance, this one, and you want to do the exact same thing for this product. So if you scroll down, you will also find search engine listing, and this is where you want to include the meta title and the description for the specific product that you've got here. So in this case, that you have the specific keywords for that specific product here. You don't want to copy and paste these across multiple products and have the same thing. You want this to rank. So for instance, this, I would want this to rank for Megane Racing coilover for the Nissan 240Z. And I'm going to remove the years because nobody's going to search the year. That can just be in the description. And maybe I'll leave 260 because that is also a potential one. So what I would actually type in here is I would go back to SEMrush and I would type in includes Megane 240Z, 260Z. And let's see what people are actually searching. Okay, let's remove 260. It's probably causing a conflict. So 240Z Megane coilover kit. 240Z Megane coilovers, Megane Racing 240Z. Now, this doesn't have a lot of search volume here, so it's obviously not a very popular product, but the principle still remains. If you were to do a different product, let's say, for instance, we saw 350Z earlier, you would see that you do get a lot. So let's say, for instance, Megane Racing 350Z, you can see here the different variations. So I would definitely include the word coilovers with an S in this case, because nobody's really searching kit. They're searching coilovers. So I would put that word in there, not coilover kit. So that's an important thing to note. I would definitely remove damper because that's not relevant to this case. I would also be inclined to actually move this to the front, especially if people search the keyword. So let's say, for instance, we go back here and go 240Z and type this in. 240Z is the first thing they type. So I would actually be inclined to put that at the beginning of the keyword. Now, these are just some small tips that I'm showing you that can help increase the click-through rate. So keep these in mind. I'm just going to change this to an and you also want to make sure that this is under 60 characters, which in this case it is. So I'm going to leave this as is. I think this is good. So now we can put, you could, let's say, include a price or some other incentive, but that's an example of the description. And then you would want to hit save. So you want to do this for every single one of your products to increase the chances that they're actually going to rank for a specific keyword. Now, for ones like this, where I showed you where there's not a lot of search volume, I wouldn't put too much emphasis on them. For ones like the 350Z that I showed you, I would definitely be putting effort into that, because there is enough search volume for that. So that's how you do the meta titles and descriptions for the collections, the products, and the homepage. Now, just before we continue, if you would like me to coach you on how to do SEO or even run Google ads for your Shopify store for only $49 a month, go to learndominatemarketing.com. And if you'd like us to do the SEO or Google ads for your store with guaranteed results, go to dominatemarketing.io and book a call with us there. Now, the next thing on the list is H1 headlines. So the H1 headlines are another of what I call the 3 pillars of SEO. The first one is meta titles. The second one is H1 headlines. And the third is URLs, which we're going to go into next. But the H1 headlines are extremely important, just as the meta titles are, for actually ranking on Google for the specific keyword. So what you want to do is make sure that you include the main keyword you want to rank for in the H1 headline. And you want to make sure that each page, collection, and product has an H1 headline and only has one H1 headline that's unique to that page. Now, unlike with the meta description, you're not really limited to characters on the H1 headline, but you don't want to go too far and make it too long. It's not a paragraph, it's just a headline. So if we go back to the product, I'm going to show you how to do this. So you can see here at the very top, we've got title. This is the H1 headline that is displayed. Now, this doesn't display on Google, but it's usually the biggest text on the actual page. So if we go view, you'll see this is the main headline here. This is the H1 headline. Now, you can check this by going to inspect and inspecting the actual code of the site. And you can see here, it says H1. Now, you want to make sure that it has H1. If you've selected a theme or change the theme on your Shopify store, you want to make sure that they've actually correctly done this, because I have seen some instances where they set this as H2 or something and you're not going to get the full benefit of this headline. So very similar to the meta title, you want to make sure that you include the main keyword you want to rank for in the H1 headline. So basically in this case, I'm actually just going to copy and paste the meta title and put it in the headline, and typically that is actually okay to do, so you can do that and that takes care of that. Now you would want to do the similar thing on the collections page, so you would go here in the title, you want to make sure that you've got a good headline. I'm going to put the same one actually as this one and just include the same keywords, and that will be fine. So now if you go to this page, you'll see that as the main headline above all the products. Now to adjust the H1 headline on your home page, you're actually going to have to go to online store, and then you're going to actually have to customize the theme itself. The easiest way to do it is to go to add section and go custom liquid. And you want to add a custom liquid block, which you want to move up ideally so that it's above the featured collection. And then in here, you want to add custom code that says H1 and just put whatever you want the title to be. And then that will make sure that you actually have that headline on your home page as an H1, which is now here. And you can see that it's going to be H1. Now, this is not necessarily ideal, but it's the easiest way to do this. There are ways to edit the code of your theme to actually do it properly and adjust the code. However, that's not the purpose of this video. If you're interested in doing that, you can go on Google and do a search and you can find the answers pretty easy to that. Now, the third pillar of SEO is URLs. Now, you want to make sure that your URLs are actually optimized as well. And again, it's for all your collection pages and all your products as well. And this is another thing that most e-com stores actually overlook. They just leave the default thing. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So the 2 rules for URLs is you want to keep them as short as possible. Ideally 3 to 4 words, and you want to include the main keyword you want that page to rank for in the URL, but you don't want to keyword stuff and overdo it. So I'm going to show you what I mean. So let's go back to the coilovers. Now this one, I would want this to rank for the keyword coilovers. So what I'm going to do is make sure that that's the URL. So in this case, you can see here, we've got URL handle. Now in Shopify, you can only edit the ending, the last bit of the slug as it's called, but you want to make sure that this has got the correct words in it. So in this case, it's already coilovers. So I'm going to leave this one, but if it wasn't, I would adjust this. But if we go to the product, what you'll see here is this one's going to be some long URL you see here with all this stuff in it. And that's because it just pulled whatever I put for the title of the product. Now we don't want this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove all of this and I'm going to just change it to exactly what I want. So Megane Racing Street Series coilovers, Nissan 240Z, 260Z. Now that is what I would have in this one. It's a bit longer than 4 to 6 words, but it's as short as I possibly can with all of the relevant parts in it, because the reason I'm including Street Series is because if there's a different model of Megane Racing coilover, which there are, and it's for the same car, then you're going to have a crossover. So what I'm going to do is make it as short as I possibly can, but make sure it includes the keywords. Now this is a lot cleaner and a lot easier for 1, Google to understand, and 2, it looks better because it's been put together much better. So you want to make sure that you do that for every product and every collection, optimize all of the URLs, make them like this. Now the next thing is the page content and the H2 and H3 headlines on each of these pages. So you want unique, descriptive, and well-written content on each collection and product. And you want to include the keyword variations for whatever you're trying to get those pages to rank for in the H2 and H3 headlines. And you want to make sure that you actually have some H2 and H3 headlines, at least on the collection pages specifically. So I'm going to show you some examples of this. So let's go back to the coilovers example I was using earlier. Now, if we go to these pages and we open up some of the ones that are ranking, let's say coilover depot, and go to this one, go to this one. What you will find is that these pages will give you a good idea of what you should actually put on your page. So what you want to do is take a look at what content is actually on these pages and see what you need to put. Now, this one is not exactly an e-com store, so I wouldn't necessarily use this one as the example because it's not exactly related unless this is a brand site and they're talking about their products, so it's not exactly related. But if we go to one that is a e-com store, for example, this starts to give you some ideas. So these guys now rank for the home page. So this is going to be harder to copy if you are not actually trying to rank your homepage for this keyword, but you are for the collection. So what we want to do is find one that's doing something similar. So let's say these guys, this is a subpage, so it's a collection. So they've got some here, you can see here, and you can see they've also got an H2 and a little bit of content. Now, this is not exactly as much as I'd like, but the good thing here is that you'll be able to overtake them pretty easily if you were doing this. So you want to scroll down, just make sure it is H2. So now what you can see here is what they've done is they've got coilovers as the main headline, And then for the H2, they've got coilover suspension kits. So they're trying to get that keyword. Now you can do the same thing, but much better. I'm going to show you how. So let's take a look at a couple more. This is another home page, which is obviously not as relevant. What you want to look for is sub pages. So that's what we've got here. So basically you want to try and find the ones that are as similar to what you are doing as possible. So they've got coilover kits, universal and adjustable in the top headline. And then they've got professional grade universal coilover kits again. And then we can see they've got products, and now they've got coilover kits and a bunch of content. You can see here. And then they have some more. They've got things. And now they've got what is a coilover kit. They talk about that. Does a coilover kit. So basically FAQs about coilovers. So you can see here they've got a ton of content, and this is pretty good. So this would give you an idea of what you should include on your page as well. So you could go through all of the top 10 results and figure out what exactly should be on your page. Now SEMrush is good for this because it'll also give you the results in a cleaner format. So if we go back to the keyword overview, you'll see here we've got 10 examples so that you can basically just open up the sub page ones and just take a look at what they've got on each of those pages. So then you want to do the same thing. So let's say, for instance, we go back to my shop and you go products and collections. We're going to go back to the main coilover collection. And now what you want to do is in this description here, this is where you want to write that content and paste it in. Now, there's a number of ways you can write this content. You can theoretically use AI. I would use AI and then edit it or write it myself. That would be my recommendation. But what's important here is you want to have the good content that fulfills the search intent, is related to this specific category or product. And you can also use this as an opportunity to interlink a lot of your pages as well. So in this case, what I would do is you've got the main headline here, then you can have the sub headline. So I'm just going to use some of the examples we saw. What are coilovers? You could have that. And basically what I'm trying to show you is here, you would want to do that. And then you could have like different types of coilovers. You can have that as an H2. And then below that, you could have, let's say, true rear, divorced rear, and these could be H3s that have sub content below them. And so you want to make sure that you do this as much as you can. And the more you can make these relevant and include different variations, so different types of coilover kits, for example, or different types of coilover suspension, is just examples of how you can use keyword variations of what you're trying to rank for in your descriptions of your collections. And you would want to do the same thing for the products. So if we go to the products, you can do exactly the same thing. So you can see here, you can theoretically have a section on why get, I'm just making this up, but now you can make that an H2, you see, and you can do exactly the same thing in your product. And then that's going to help you outrank a lot of your competition, because especially with most e-com stores, they don't usually bother doing individual content for each product. They usually just copy and paste either the manufacturer's content or some very basic description that they made on every product that's the same type of thing on their website. So if you do this, you stand a very high chance of actually out-competing them. So you definitely want to do this. So that's basically the basics of writing content. Now, the fifth point is the collection pages. So I've already mentioned the collection pages a little bit, but these pages are extremely important because these are the ones that are actually going to rank for the high search intent category keywords. So things like coilovers, or brands. So let's say, for instance, Megane Racing coilovers, or other types of these things. So instead of individual products, it'll be like that type of product. So let's say, for instance, you've got shoes. Running shoes would be the collection. And a lot more people are going to search running shoes than they are a specific model of running shoe. So you want to make sure that you optimize your main collection page for the main keyword properly. Now, how you do this is you make sure that you have the H1 headline and good content with the H2 and H3s, which I just showed you in the previous example how to do that. And you also want to use the page one of Google to see what the content should be, what keywords should be included in the H2s, like I just showed you in the previous point as well. So this is the biggest SEO factor that most e-com stores overlook, is optimizing their collection pages correctly and making sure they actually have a specific page for each collection and each main keyword. Because a lot of times what you're going to find is that e-com stores don't actually have an actual static page. It's a dynamic filter for a particular category of product, and so they can't actually rank for that keyword. And I'm going to put a link up above to a video I made describing that exact mistake. So if you're not sure what I'm talking about, go watch that video and you'll see what I'm talking about. You want to make sure you haven't made that mistake. Now, number 6 is the product pages. So I just showed you how to do the product pages as well. You want to make sure that each product has relevant meta titles, URLs, and H1s for the keywords you want to rank for. Include unique and descriptive content for each product as much as you can. That's going to help you a lot. Now, images and alt text. So there's a couple of rules with images that you need to do as well. So with images, the issue you have is most people put really super high definition images that are very large in file size, and then they take a long time to load. And that can kill your conversion rates because people don't want to wait for websites to load, so they'll just leave. So Shopify tries to mitigate this as much as they can, but you can definitely help them along by putting reduced image sizes or compressed image files as well, which will help with this. So what you typically want to do is make sure that the image is the size that actually displays and not much bigger. There's no point having a 4,000 pixel wide image because it's never going to display that big anyway. So you want to make sure that you lower the image sizes. Just make sure they still look good. Like when you actually click here, this still looks decent. It doesn't look low quality and all pixelated. So make sure you have that. And also you want to optimize the alt text on every image because Google is now paying attention to this for SEO. So what you want to do is you want to include the keyword that you want that image and that product to rank for, but you also want to include the image. You don't want to just stuff keywords everywhere. So what you'd want to do is go to Shopify, go to content and files, and then you'll have the images. And so in here, if you click on this image, you can see here alt text. So now what you want to do is describe this image. In this case, I could put, Megane Racing Euro 2 coilover kit, and that would describe this image. If it's like a woman walking on a beach at sunset, you don't want to put like jandals as the alt text. You want to describe what the image is. So you could say woman walking down the beach at sunset in jandals or in brand name jandals, for instance. And then that would be fine. But that is how I would do it. Don't just stuff the keyword in every image because that's not actually going to help you. Now, sitemap. So sitemaps are basically a map of your website, which tells Google what pages actually exist, which makes it easier for them to crawl your website and then in turn actually rank them. So this is actually automatically created in Shopify, which is good. So you don't have to worry about that. What you just need to do is get the sitemap and submit it to Google Search Console, which I'm going to cover in the next step. Just to quickly show you where you find your sitemap is you type in the URL of your website and then you go /sitemap.xml. So I'm going to show you that on mine. So let's take my URL /sitemap.xml. And now you can see this is what the sitemap looks like. It's just a very basic text document that just outlines all the different pages on your website, which makes it easy for Google to crawl. So now the next thing you want to do is go on Google Search Console, create a Google Search Console account, set it up, and link your Shopify store. So I'm going to walk you through that here, and then we're going to submit this sitemap I just showed you. So what you want to do is go to this URL here, and it's going to take you to the Google Search Console. Now, if you don't have a Google account already, or you haven't set up anything here, then it's going to present you with a screen that looks very similar to this right here. And basically what you want to do is input either your domain or the URL prefix. Now this one will typically require you to go and edit things on your domain in the DNS records. So I recommend you just do this one. You just want to take the main URL of your website and paste it in here. So I'm just going to take mine, which is shop.nefariousracing.com. Now you want to take it with the whole prefix. So HTTPS and www. If you're on the www version, I'm going to go into that one of the next points as well. But you want to take the whole URL and paste it in here and hit continue. And now it's going to try and verify it. So I have already verified mine because I've already set up Google Tag Manager. If you haven't, it's going to ask you to put in a line of code in Shopify in the header. So if it asks you to do that, all you need to do is copy that code, go to your Shopify account, go to themes under online store. And now you want to hit these three red dots and go edit code. And so now you want to go to the theme liquid file and you would want to paste that code right here, right under this head section. Just paste it in there. It would be like Google tag verification and it will be like equals some random thing like that. That's what it'll look, something along the lines of that, just longer. It won't say exactly this, but I'm just writing that so you can see what I'm talking about. And you just want to paste it in there. And then once you paste it in there, you would go back and hit verify and it will verify your account. And then you've got the account made. And so then you could hit done and you'll go to the property. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to open the property. Now what's going to happen is you're not going to have any data like this because you've just made it. There's no data here. But what we can do is submit the sitemap. So what you want to do is go here on the left, you go sitemaps, and now you just type it in. So you just type in sitemap.xml. Just make sure that that is actually the URL of your store. It should be on Shopify, but just double check it and then hit submit. That's actually going to submit the sitemap to Google. So now Google is now aware that your website exists. What pages are on the website, it's going to start crawling it. So that's how you do that. Now, I just want to quickly show you with Google Search Console. You won't see any data, like I said, because it's new. But let's say we go to my main website, which is the blog, and you're going to see data like this, which is going to present you with the traffic, the clicks, what keywords you're getting traffic for, and things like that. So I have a video on the Google Search Console. I'm going to put a link above. If you want to go learn how to use it, just go watch that video, and I cover all the basics of Google Search Console. So now the SSL certificate. So the SSL certificate is basically the certificate that says that your website is certified as secure and encrypts the traffic. So you see how in the URL, I'll just bring this down. You can see how it says HTTPS. That means it's got an active SSL certificate. Now, what you need to be aware of is that this is now a ranking factor on Google. So you want to make sure that you actually have an SSL certificate. So this is something you're going to have to do on your domain, where you bought the domain from. You need to make sure that they've actually applied an SSL certificate to your domain. That's typically free with the domain, so just double check with whoever you've registered the domain with. But you need to make sure that you actually have one, and you need to make sure that your website actually loads as the HTTPS version. And if it does, you're good to go. If it shows up an error, says unsecure, then you need to sort out the SSL certificate. Now, www or non-www URL. Now you need to pick one of these and decide which one you're actually going to use. If you have both and they don't redirect to each other, it's going to register as two different websites on Google, and it's going to cause you a conflict and you won't be able to rank as well. So what you want to do is pick one. Either one makes no difference to SEO whatsoever. Just pick one and redirect the one URL to the other URL. So I'm going to show you how to do that. And you also want to make sure that you redirect the HTTP version of the website to the HTTPS version of the website as well, once you've got that SSL certificate, because otherwise you'll have the same issue where it's going to be registered as two websites if you don't. So to do this, all you need to do is go back into your Shopify and go into settings, and then you go to domains. And in here, it's going to give you the option to redirect all your domains. Now, I don't have that option because I've already set up shop. And it's already done everything. I don't obviously have a www because it's a subdomain. However, you would have a link here that says redirect all domains, and you want to click that link that says redirect the domains and choose the one you want to use. Make sure it's the HTTPS version, and then redirect all the other ones to that one, and then you're good to go. That's all you need to do. It's literally one click and it gets done, and that's it. Now, the final point, after you've done all of these things and you have set up and optimized all of the parts I've just shown you on your Shopify store, the next thing you need to do is ongoing blogs and content writing. So what you want to do is write ongoing blog posts, which is going to help get your shop to actually rank. It's going to help to establish topical authority on whatever your niche is. And it's also going to help target keywords that are not necessarily commercially intent, but relate to your shop and whatever you're selling. So there are two ways that you can find out what you should write about. You can either go to answerthepublic.com to get ideas, or you can use SEMrush. So I'm going to quickly show you how to do these two things. So if we go to Answer the Public, and then you type in whatever the keyword is. So I'm going to type in coilovers. It's now going to give you a bunch of questions and topics that people search relating to coilovers, and it gives you to them in decent clusters. And so what you can do is you can go in here and basically write blog posts about each of these questions, answering them. Now you want to lump the ones that are very similar together. However, you would go and do this, and this is a good free way to get a lot of ideas for what content you should write. Now, the better way I recommend is to go on SEMrush and type in the main keyword. Now, I showed you this earlier. And what's going to happen is it's going to spit out a bunch of questions that relate to whatever the keyword is. So if we take a look here for coilovers, we can see now we've got a ton of questions that all relate to coilovers that we can go through and answer. So what are coilovers? What do coilovers do? How to adjust coilovers? Are these coilovers good? How long do coilovers last? How to install coilovers? How to lower coilovers? You could go through and write content about all of these different questions and basically become an expert in Google's eyes for coilovers, and then link from those pages to your products and to your categories, and that is going to help boost your SEO big time and get you up in the rankings for that particular category. Now you can also do that for subcategories. So let's say McGunn Racing coilovers, and if we go here, it still says questions. You can see here we've got a bunch of questions. How are McGunn Racing coilovers good? How low do McGunn Racing coilovers go? How to adjust them? How to install them? Are they rebuildable? All these different questions, you can answer all these too, and that's going to make you a topic on essentially this sub niche. So that's it. Those are all the basics of Shopify SEO. If you do all of these things, you're going to be better than 90% of the stores that I see online right now. So you're probably going to rank just by doing these alone. There are more advanced tactics as well, which I'm going to cover in a subsequent video in the near future. So stay tuned for that one. And like I said, if you want me to coach you on how to do this SEO or even run Google ads for your Shopify store for only $49 a month, go to learndominatemarketing.com. And if you want us to do the SEO or run Google ads for your Shopify store with guaranteed results, go to dominatemarketing.io and book a call with us there. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Catch you on the next one.